Hi there. I'm back with another rambling chat about records that I've got recently. Hello to any new subscribers. Thank you for joining us and for your continued support from everyone else that watches these videos. So, thank you very much. Okay, first things first. I was driving down to work. It's a 2-hour journey, so I was listening to the radio. On Radio 4, there was a program called Untold, and it was about a group called the Alabama Three. Now, in I think 29, was it last year or the year before? Um, uh, Jake Black, one of the founding members, died quite suddenly, which kind of threw the band into turmoil, not really knowing what they were going to do. And the radio program was basically about Rob Spragg, who formed the band, kind of going through the issues of whether they should continue the band, tour, perform live, things like that, because they could add recordings of Jake. Anyway, so the radio show's really interesting about the sort of the background of Jake's death and how a band continues after that. So it's worth listening to. I'll put the link. It's still available on the BBC website. I'm not sure about you folks in the USA. I'm sure there's ways and means you can listen to it, but it's worth listening to. It's only half hour. Anyway, it reminded me how much I really liked specifically this album by the band. This is released in 1997, and it's called Exile on Cold Harbour Lane. Cold Harbour Lane is in Brixton in London, which is where the band was from. And this is a double album set, and they produce a music that they call acid house country music, sweet acid house country music, and there's a swear word in there which I can't possibly say. Well, I could, but I won't. Anyway, and they're probably most famous for doing the soundtrack music or the theme music to The Sopranos. Woke Up This Morning, and that's on this album. Yeah, they kind of, like I said, they produce this mixture of dance music and country music that kind of come together in a weird mix, but it really works. If you ask me, it works anyway. And they kind of perform. There's very much a kind of almost vaudeville, almost like a revival kind of meeting going on when you're listening to it. Because all the band members had fake names. They had kind of strange names. So, for example, Jake Black was known as the Very Reverend Dr. D. Wayne Love, and Rob Spragg was Larry Love, and so all the members of the band had these funny names. And yeah, so it's like going to a sort of a revival meeting and singing country music with a acid house drum beat. There you go. So anyway, great album. Really happy to have it. Alabama 3, Exile on Cold Harbour Lane. Okay, I've been listening to this record for a while online, and then I've decided, well, I'm going to get it. And this is by Tawaya, and it's called Starts Again. And it was out last year, so it's 2019 record. And yeah, it's nice sort of British sort of new wave soul music. And Tawaya, she's actually called Beverly Tawaya. I think it's pronounced Tawaya. And yeah, it's a great sort of modern soul record. And she was a graduate of the Brit School, and probably were there about the same time as Adele and Amy Winehouse. So whatever they do there, they've done right, because this is a cracking album. I'll perhaps put a needle drop later on. But yeah, so Tawaya, Starts Again. A very nice British soul record. I was at work in Wakefield and we had some time off, and so what do you do in your time off? You go and find a record shop. So I went down to the record shop that's just around the corner, unfortunately, from where I work, and they had a little bit of a sale on some records. I mean, a sale, record shops can be quite pricey, especially independent ones. I understand. They have to make a living, and they don't get the products cheap, so therefore they can't sell them cheap. However, I saw these records and I got this, Bonnie Prince Billy. This is from last year. I Have Made a Place. Bonnie Prince Billy, kind of Americana, folk. This is, I think this is his first album of solo recordings for about five years or so. Although it always seems to me that he's so prolific, it's ridiculous. So Bonnie Prince Billy, otherwise known as Will Oldham, and he goes by different monikers like Palace Brothers, Palace, I can't remember what other names. Anyway, and Will Oldham. This is a lovely album. It's if you know Bonnie Prince Billy and Will Oldham, you won't be surprised by it. It's perhaps a little bit more upbeat than certainly the stuff he was producing 20 years ago. Johnny Cash covered I See a Darkness by Will Oldham on one of his American recordings albums. I think the third one. And yeah, that's dark kind of stuff. And while it does have dark elements, this is a much more upbeat and hopeful record from Will Oldham. Another one from last year. So I picked that up. It was only 15 quid. This was only 15 quid, and it's a double. And this is the Mountain Goats in League with Dragons. Was it in League with the Dragons? No, in League with Dragons. And it's a kind of a concept album based around Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, really. But this was from last year. And I saw him perform a small little in-house gig at a record shop last year. And I really should have bought the album then and got him to sign it, but I bought a previous album and got him to sign it. So I got nice to get a hold of his album from last year. And it's produced by Owen Pallett. And Owen Pallett was went by the name of Final. Oh no! Do you know I was going to write this down and then I decided I don't need to write it down. Final Fantasy. See, I didn't need to write it down. Yeah, and he's worked with Arcade Fire and various other Canadian and Sufjan Stevens as well. So yeah, good to get hold of. Mountain Goats, kind of indie rock, nice stuff. Talking about Sufjan Stevens, the third record I picked up at that record shop is an EP, Blue Bucket of Gold Live, which is during the, and it's got it on the side, it's a bit weird actually, it says the Carrion Lowell Live. Carrion Lowell was his previous album, and this was the live tour he did, and this was recorded on that. So Blue Bucket of Gold is on Carrion Lowell, and this is an 18-minute version of it. It's quite avant-garde, quite noisy and all over the place, but it was only, I think, £4 I paid for this, so I was quite happy to have that. And it had a MP3 download for the whole gig, so that was a bonus. So yeah, so having bought that, I've started listening to a bit of Sufjan Stevens again, and it kind of led me to pick this up, or at least buy it online. Again, I picked it up quite cheap. This is a record called The Avalanche. This was originally released around the time just after he released his Illinois album, and it's outtakes and different versions from the sessions that made the Illinois album. But this was only released on vinyl 2 years ago, I think it's. Yeah, so it was originally released in 2006, and I think it was released in 2018, this on vinyl. He's an amazing talent, and the quality of the music on this, which is outtakes and stuff he's thrown away, would put some artists to shame, really. It's better than most people manage for their fully fledged albums. But then, of course, I would say that I like Sufjan Stevens. So anyway, yeah, outtakes, different versions. It's got about 3 or 4 versions of the song Chicago on here, which is it's great to see the kind of the progress he went through to get from one thing to another and decide on the final version he wants to put on the album. So it's interesting to have that. So yeah, Avalanche, outtakes and extras from the Illinois album. Okay, I went to a antique emporium type thing, which has lots of different stalls and areas that obviously they hire out and people put their stuff in. There's been, over the years, there's been various things. Record stores have come and gone. There was a record store there, stall, I suppose I should say, but the things were vastly overpriced, if you ask me. Anyway, I was just about to go out, and then I suddenly found a box of records that were all marked at £2, but everything was half price, so they were £1 each. And basically, I had a look through, and I was quite impressed with some of the stuff. So the first thing I found was, this is by Gene Ritchie, and it's British traditional ballads in the Southern Mountains, as it said, child ballads. And this is on Folkways. This is from 1961, I think, and it's in very, very good condition. Bit smelly. Hey James, do you like a bit of smelling the records? Yeah, a little bit kind of foisty, but it's not so bad. And for 1961, it's in excellent condition. Records minty mint. So yeah, Gene Ritchie, probably one of the biggest names in traditional folk music in the States. And this is, yeah, sort of the folk tunes that made their way from Britain over to America. It's just her singing a cappella, beautiful voice. Really pleased to get hold of that for £1. And then the rest were classical music, but they were really interesting classical music. So interesting. So this is Brahms Symphony No. 1 by Otto Klemperer. And this is from, all of these records are actually from the late 50s, early 60s. So there's that, Brahms Symphony No. 1, Brahms Symphony No. 3. Oh, where's number 2? Yeah, mint condition, beautiful, from, like I said, late 50s, early 60s. American pressings, these are American records. So this is again Brahms Concerto No. 2, not the Symphony No. 2, by Sviatoslav Richter, famous pianist. Then we've got Stravinsky Rites of Spring, and I love this one with the cover by Rousseau. That's a lovely looking record. That again, late 50s. Then we've got Schoenberg, beautiful cover. Look at that. So that's Arnold Schoenberg, sort of avant-garde, kind of given onto avant-garde, sort of modern classical music. I think the cover kind of gives you an idea about what you're expecting inside. I mean, much like Rites of Spring by Stravinsky. Then we've got this, which is Wanda Landowska, who was a French harpsichordist, and this is her playing some J.S. Bach pieces, which is very nice indeed. This one's British. This is Shostakovich, Symphony No. 5. Whereas the rest of all really nice kind of chunky covers. This is very thin, poor stuff. Letting the Side Down Britain. And then these weren't quite as interesting, but I got Liszt, Piano Concertos 1 and 2. Got George Gershwin playing Rhapsody in Blue. What this is he will have played it and it been turned into a piano roll so that you could play it on your pianola. So what they've done is it's the pianola piano roll that George Gershwin himself played, but then set to orchestration. So yeah, so that's kind of nice stuff. It's also got American in Paris on it, so I like a bit of that. Then we got Thomas Tallis, who is a English medieval, I suppose you'd say, composer. So this is choral music. The 40-part motet, Spem in Alium, is one of the most beautiful things I have ever heard in my life. Beautiful harmonies. So like a bit of old Thomas Tallis. And then Vivaldi The Four Seasons, which I didn't have a copy of, so good to get hold of that. Okay, so that was that. I went down to London, just finally wrap up with these. I don't want to go too long. Went down to London, yeah, like I said. Went to see a tribute to the Flying Burrito Brothers, which was brilliant. It was in a venue in the Stamford Bridge football ground, Chelsea football ground. Interesting venue, and I met John Downing there, the 6-inch pianist, and it was yeah, good night was had, I think, by all. So that was a cracking gig. Anyway, while we were down, me and Louise went out to Greenwich on the Thames Clipper, which is the boat that goes down the Thames. And I found a record shop, of course, and it's the Music and Video Exchange, which is, they have a number of them around London, Notting Hill, Soho, and this one out at Greenwich. So I went in there and I managed to find some cheapo records, which was great. So first of all, we had Queen Ida and her Zydeco band. So yeah, kind of what it says, it's Zydeco music. It's a live, it's called Caught in the Act, it's a live album. Great stuff, bit 80s production, some of it. I say production, it's a live album, but instrumentation I suppose. But yeah, I'll certainly play you a bit of that. Then I picked up the Penguin Cafe Orchestra's Broadcasting from Home. I don't know if you know the Penguin Cafe Orchestra, kind of a blend of pop and classical. Sort of chamber pop, I suppose, if you will. And this has probably got some of their most famous pieces on it. You've got Music for Found Harmonium, which is probably known by most people, the one they would recognise. So nice to get that for about £4. I couldn't turn that down. Gene Autry for £1. It's nice quality, great little compilation. I like a bit of singing cowboys, and Gene Autry is great. I got McKendry Spring. This is an album from '76 called Too Young to Feel This Old. I say, look at them. They don't look like a rock band. They look like a group of university lecturers, if you ask me. Dearie me. Anyway, it's a nice enough album. I'm a collector of kind of country rock, so while I would never say this is great stuff, it's not very offensive. It's quite well recorded. It's a lovely sounding record, actually. Yeah, sort of West Coast country rocky, bordering on the yacht rock stuff as well. But yeah, there's some stuff to enjoy in there. And then a couple of other ones. Finally, this is, well, not finally, the Country Cooking, a Barrel of Fun. This is kind of bluegrassy. Although it does have some saxophone on it, which I have to say I could do without. But it's an interesting decision. And this is, yeah, it's on Rounder Records, so I'll pick up anything really on Rounder. That's the label. Yeah, nice stuff. And again, finally, we've got the Any Old Time String Band. And again, it's kind of a mixture actually of this. It's kind of an mixture of bluegrass and folky stuff. They've even do a bit of Cajun on here as well. And this is on the Arhoolie label, which again is a label that's really worth picking stuff up. So yeah, nice bunch of ladies. Okay, there you go. That was it. I hope you found something to enjoy amongst the rambling and nonsense. So anyway, until I see you again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again, same time, same back channel. Bing.
You can see them now. Yeah, you can see them now. You can see the sisters swinging, yeah, I know it now. Yeah, you can hear them now. Yeah, you can hear them now. You can hear the brothers singing, yeah. Let's go back to church. Let's go back to church. It's been so damn long since we saw A bad sideshow won't show good mutilations. A bad emperor won't redraw good borders, oh no. A bad tailor won't make good alterations. A bad ranger won't put out good fires. A bad farmer won't raise what she needs. A bad actor won't announce he retires, oh no. A bad Samaritan can't do a good deed. That's what there is, that's all she wrote. My friends, you won't hear good songs flow from the devil's throat.